Welcome to today's deep dive. I want you to imagine something for a second. Think about pouring years of your life, your creative energy, and your own capital into building a thriving business partnership with a legendary retailer.
Right.
You have a relationship that's built on mutual respect, and then, without warning, your trusted partner sits you down and essentially demands you start producing cheap knockoffs.
Wow.
Yeah, just to artificially boost their profit margins. And if that wasn't enough, they then start holding your money hostage, freezing the cash flow you need to survive.
It sounds like an extreme scenario, but
Mhm.
it is actually the reality of what happened behind the polished glass doors of one of America's most famous department stores. Today, our mission is to unpack the specific financial red flags and the devastating loss of trust experienced by designers and vendors as Saks Fifth Avenue crumbled from within.
Exactly. And to guide us through this, we are drawing from an incredibly eye-opening Forbes article titled Saks Global Part 3, The Walmartization of Saks Fifth Avenue.
Yes, written by Lilian Raji.
Right. And before we really get into the heavy details, I want to formally introduce her properly because her background is precisely why this reporting is so incisive.
Definitely.
She is a global luxury communications advisor, fractional CMO, columnist, and president of the Lilian Raji agency, where for over 2 decades she served as a trusted strategic advisor for some of the world's leading luxury brands. She's also the founder of the PR Advisor, a platform inspired by her decade-long National Jeweler magazine column, offering communications and PR guidance and training for emerging to mid-sized brands. Her Forbes column, The Pursuit of Luxury, examines how luxury brands use emotional marketing to capture their very passionate customers.
Which is exactly the lens we need for this. Because understanding a collapse of this magnitude requires looking way past just the bankruptcy filings.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with the death of the vendor partnership. The reporting highlights an interview with Hadley Pollitt, the president of her eponymous brand, and the contrast Lilian draws between her experience with the old Saks and the new Saks. It illustrates the entire corporate shift.
Yeah, the golden era of their partnership was totally different.
It really was. Back then, Pollitt was seeing 80 to 85% sell-throughs, which is just unheard of.
It's the absolute holy grail of retail. It means almost everything you put on the floor is being bought by a customer at full retail price.
Exactly. And it wasn't just a transactional success either. She described a dynamic with her buyer that was built on tea, cupcakes, and reorders. They respected each other. In fact, Pollitt's integrity was so high that when a factory botched a production run, she literally pulled the entire collection rather than let a subpar product reach the Saks shopper.
She took the financial hit to protect the retailer's reputation.
Exactly. But then, the turning point. She goes in for a meeting expecting the usual collaboration and sits down with a completely new buyer.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. This buyer cryptically tells her things are changing a lot here and explains her new job was to buy mid-level knockoffs.
Just blatantly saying that.
Yeah, pointing at things like, this one's a knockoff of Louis Vuitton, so customers could, quote-unquote, get the same look.
What's fascinating here is the fundamental shift in the business model. Lilian observed that Saks shifted from a curation business to an extraction business model.
An extraction model, right.
Right. It wasn't about bringing singular creativity to a luxury customer anymore. It was about hanging an original next to a cheaper duplicate, basically betting that the margin math would make up for the lost magic.
And the financial red flags Lilian identified are just staggering. Once you realize it's an extraction model, the warning signs start flashing everywhere. First, payment terms started stretching out.
Right.
What used to be standard 30-day terms suddenly dragged out to 60 days.
Which is brutal for a small brand.
Oh, absolutely brutal. Then, chargebacks. These are penalties for minor shipping manual deviations, like a barcode being slightly off. That became a brand new profit center off the backs of small designers.
They were monetizing warehouse efficiency.
Yes. On top of that, Saks started demanding higher markups. And worst of all, vendors were being financially punished for the buyer's mistakes.
Wait, really?
Yeah. If the buyer ordered the wrong color or the wrong silhouette and it had to be marked down, the vendor took the hit.
That completely destroys the concept of shared risk.
It does. And that brings us to the harsh reality of the Saks Global bankruptcy fallout. We're looking at over $4 billion in debt.
Wow.
And within that, an estimated $800 million is owed to vendors.
To understand why that $800 million figure is so devastating, we have to look at the mechanics of the consignment trap.
Right, because consignment is totally different from traditional wholesale.
Exactly. Lilian interviewed bankruptcy attorney Signe Scheinberg, and he explained how this works. Under the consignment model, vendors put their physical items in trust with the retailer.
Meaning they don't get paid upfront.
Right. They trust the store to sell the products and return the proceeds. When a retailer files for bankruptcy while holding your goods, that fundamental trust is broken.
It's obliterated. And a shocking detail from Lillian's reporting makes it even worse. Just months before filing for bankruptcy, Saks sent out these disingenuous letters to vendors.
Oh, the installment letters.
Yes, promising to repay $275 million in monthly installments. But those installments wouldn't even start until the summer of 2025.
Basically making empty promises to string vendors along so they'd keep supplying fresh merchandise.
Exactly. And the lawsuits really show the scale of this. You've got two completely different tiers of victims. On one end, Chanel was the largest single creditor at $136 million.
Which is a massive number.
Huge. Off-White is owed over 1 million euros. But then you have Portlando Products suing for around $300,000. Giovanni Fashion for $295,000. Even the ad firm Criteo is owed $250,000 in unpaid ads.
And see, Chanel will likely survive a $136 million write-off.
Right.
But those smaller businesses, that's why we have to bring the focus back to the human element, the invisible victims.
Right.
Take Monil Kothari of House of Brilliance. He had a highly successful dropship volume going, and then his tracking platform for receivables was just abruptly shut down.
Just turned off.
Completely turned off. And then there's the heartbreaking account of Brenda Teal, a freelance commercial photographer.
Oh, the e-commerce photographer.
Yes. She represents the invisible army behind e-commerce, the assistants, the digital techs, set builders, makeup artists. They worked tirelessly without pay through the entire holiday season based on empty promises.
While larger brands might eventually get priority payment in a bankruptcy just to keep the store running.
Exactly. The independent contractors are just left with nothing.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because this decay wasn't just happening in accounting or vendor portals, it was actively cannibalizing the sales floor.
The in-store experience.
Yeah. Lilian got an account from a former Chicago Saks employee, John McBaron. He revealed how leadership was actively trying to remove commission-based salespeople from the process.
Which is the exact opposite of what luxury retail is supposed to be.
Exactly. And there's this specific, staggering anecdote about a senior executive that perfectly captures the dysfunction. This executive visits the store, admires a pair of boots on the floor, but instead of buying them right there, he goes home, buys them online to avoid paying a commission to his own staff, and then comes back the next day and actually brags about it to the sales team.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to ask why leadership would treat its physical floors like an e-commerce return center.
Yeah.
Take the Chicago Magnificent Mile situation. Customers literally walked 100 yards past Saks prime real estate just to go to Bloomingdale's.
100 yards.
Because Bloomingdale's had rebuilt a merchant-led environment. They had curation and engaged staff, while Saks was undercutting its own frontline workers.
And Lilian points out this wasn't an isolated thing. Dr. Veronique Ehamo noticed the struggle to, quote-unquote, keep the lights on at the New York flagship as early as 2015.
2015, wow.
Yes. And look at the Short Hills Mall in New Jersey. Highly profitable area, but Saks was so desperate for foot traffic, they offered a free pop-up space to a dental spa.
A dental spa and a luxury department store.
Yes. They threw a poorly attended Empire-themed party and ultimately had to close that location in 2016.
Which all points to the strategic failure Lilian outlines, the Walmartization of their e-commerce platform.
The widgets strategy.
Exactly.
Steve Greenspan of Honey Can Do experienced this firsthand. Saks approached him, but instead of curating a few high-end items, they told him to just load up his products. No curation at all.
Which is wild.
It gets worse. The specific shocking detail here is that Saks was selling the exact same coat hangers you could find on Walmart.com, Kmart.com, and Wayfair.
So you have a $20 laundry hamper sitting on the same site as a $20,000 Chanel handbag.
Exactly.
When you compare this to Nordstrom, as Lilian outlines, the difference is night and day. Nordstrom buyers curated and actually understood their products. Saks just treated everything as widgets.
Right.
And what's crazy is that Saks sacrificed the in-store experience to fund a tech stack that was 5 to 10 years behind Walmart, Home Depot, and Amazon.
Think about your own shopping habits. If you go to a luxury retailer and see the exact same items you'd find on a discount site, with no curation, why would you ever pay a premium? As Hadley Pollitt told Lilian, it's an infection of sameness.
That perfectly synthesizes the main takeaways from Lilian's analysis. This collapse wasn't just about debt. It was about the systematic destruction of trust.
Yeah.
By squeezing vendors with chargebacks, demanding knockoffs, and abandoning curation for volume, Saks turned creators into interchangeable suppliers. And as Lilian notes, customers don't issue statements, they simply stop giving you their money.
They really do. This has been such a fascinating look at the real mechanics of retail collapse, and I urge you to dive deeper into this incredible reporting. To read Lillian's full, in-depth article, head over to Forbes. And for even more of her brilliant analysis on the luxury industry, you absolutely need to visit her website at www.lilianraji.com.
Definitely.
While you're at it, connect with her on LinkedIn and follow her on Instagram and YouTube. She is a must-follow for anyone interested in the real business of luxury.
And if a legacy luxury brand can so easily be hollowed out into a storefront for mid-level knockoffs and discount coat hangers, it raises an important question to leave you with. In today's retail landscape, are we actually paying for the quality and curation of a luxury item, or are we just blindly paying a premium for the font on the store's sign?
That is the perfect thought to end on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious.